Our opening words today are being delivered by me, Molly Keogh. I am the worship associate. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalists of Central Delaware Sunday service. I've been a member of UUCD for 11 years. I serve with Judy Kling as the co-chair of the worship committee, and I'm active on the Environmental Social Justice Committee. I live in Smyrna, and I'm welcoming you all to our service. I want to thank all the volunteers who assisted with either the designing or delivery of the service today. Thanks to Sarah Russell, our Zoom tech, Rev Kharma, our video master. Also, thanks to those of you who agreed to participate in the service by reading various parts. Kelly Blanches, Kelly Cochran, Aaron Turner, Rose Ackerman, Wendy Pickett. Thank you all so much. Our opening words today are from Gary Kowalski, who reminds us, we gather here to worship, to seek the truth, to grow in love, to join in service, to celebrate life's beauty and find healing for its pain, to honor our kinship with each other and with the earth, to create a more compassionate world, beginning with ourselves, to wonder at the mystery that gave us birth, to find courage for the journey's end, and to listen for the wisdom that guides us in the quietness of this moment. Our gathering music for today is I Am a Light by India Ari.
Things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that caused me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. 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 I mix of it all. I am light.
Good morning. My name is Kharma Amos, and I am honored to serve as the minister of the Unitarian Universalists of Central Delaware and to welcome you again to worship this morning. We are glad that you're here, and we hope that you'll find ample room in this community for your spirit. I think thanks were already given to Sarah, who's our Zoom tech today. We're still grateful to be able to meet online and to build community in other ways. And we thank you for your patience and grace with those delays or glitches that we might experience. In addition to our worship each Sunday at 10, we do meet on Tuesday nights at 7 for a more informal time of checking in and sharing. Sometimes games are involved. Please consider joining us for that gathering. It's a wonderful way to get to know people at a deeper level. By way of announcements today, I want to offer thanks to Susan and Kevin for hosting a party for UUCD's community yesterday. I know that all who were there were very happy to gather together in person. And so Kevin and Susan, thank you so much for your hospitality. There is a social environmental justice meeting today at noon. If that is a different link than this one. And so that should be in the e-blast if you receive that. There is an interfaith Thanksgiving service this Thursday night at Mount Zion AME. Reservations are limited and required, and it's also necessary if you'd like to attend in person to follow all of their safety protocols. In just a while, I'll post the registration link in the chat window, and I checked this morning, there's still space for 70 more folks to do that. And speaking of interfaith activity, I am looking for someone or someones to represent UUCD on the Central Delaware Faith Alliance. And so if you're someone who has a passion for interfaith work and community partnerships, I invite you just to contact me to learn more about that and determine if that might be you. And now as we prepare ourselves for worship, I invite you to take a deep breath as we reaffirm our intentions to be a radically welcoming community. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you've been, whatever you've done, whatever your religious beliefs are or aren't, you're welcome in this spiritual community. However you move in this world, how much or how little is in your bank account or your wallet, however you are feeling in these moments, you and all of who you are welcome in this spiritual community. We are all enhanced and strengthened by being together.
Good morning. My name is Rose Ackerman, and I'll be lighting our chalice this morning. I've been a member of this community for a couple of years now. Our chalice lighting words are from Sean Parker Dennison in Breaking and Blessing. There is no competition between this light and the darkness which holds it. Both the light and the darkness are holy. We light our chalice not to defeat the darkness, but because for a time we need the gifts of flame, warm and light, to guide us and help us in our endeavors. And when the time comes, embrace again the gentle dark which allows us rest. And so we kindle this light with awareness and gratitude for light and all that lies in between. Each with its gifts, each with its beauty, each with its sacred and necessary whole. Please join me in unison affirmation. The words are in the chat box. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please sing along in your own environment with our opening chant, Meditation on Breathing, by Sarah Dan Jones. This arrangement is by Hal Walker and is led by the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Kent.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Hi, I'm Kelly Cochran. I've been a part of UUCD for a few months now. Each week at UUCD, we include a brief UU moment in our worship service that serves to make us aware of and to nurture our connection to the larger body of Unitarian Universalists and the Unitarian Universalist Association that binds us together. For our UU moment today, we simply want to highlight the UU first principle, which is that we covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. In the words of Reverend Dr. Rebecca Ann Parker, reverence and respect for human nature is at the core of Unitarian Universalist UU faith. We believe that all the dimensions of our being carry the potential to do good. We celebrate the gifts of being human, our intelligence and capacity for observation and reason, our senses and ability to appreciate beauty, our creativity, our feelings and emotions. We cherish our bodies as well as our souls. We can use our gifts to offer love, to work for justice, to heal injury, to create pleasure for ourselves and others. Just to be is a blessing. Just to live is holy, the great 20th century Rabbi Abraham Heschel wrote. Unitarian Universalists affirm the inherent worth and dignity of each person as a given of faith, an unshakable conviction calling us to self-respect and respect for others. Today, in this service on the theme of self-compassion, we want to encourage you, all of us, to remember that this applies to us. Each one of us has inherent worth and dignity. regardless of our actual or perceived shortcomings, regardless of our histories or sufferings, regardless of how much or how little we feel we have accomplished or succeeded. Affirming our own inherent worth and dignity may be something we need to do as often and as emphatically as we affirm it of others.
Hi, I'm Kelly Blanchies. We're going to be sharing joys and concerns with you today. It is now our time for joys and concerns, when we offer one another the opportunity to share very briefly what is most on our hearts right now, life celebrations and concerns. As you do so, we invite you to light a candle in your own space. Through the action of sharing and kindling a flame, we give energy to our best thoughts, meditations, sympathies, celebrations, and prayers. We hold these as sacred in our collective hearts. We would also like to invite anyone new to our community to introduce yourselves if you would like. We welcome you warmly and would be pleased to light a candle in honor of your connection with us and whatever joys and concerns you carry in your hearts. At this time, we invite you to change your view to gallery view in the upper right corner of your screen so that you can see everyone who is here. As you feel led, please unmute your microphone and share your joy or concern and light your candle if you have one. You can watch the mute signals on the lower left of each person's video stream to see if anyone else is unmuted. It's best if we share one at a time. Please mute your mic after you have shared. Okay, we light one final candle for the joys and concerns that were not spoken by those of us here, and in solidarity with others in our community who could not be with us today.
As Unitarian Universalists, a central part of our worship, in person and online, is the opportunity we all have to practice the art of generosity and the spiritual practice of gratitude. Our gifts to our congregation are what allow our communities to live into our calling and mission. We are grateful to you for the many ways you support our community, including your financial pledges and offerings. Your gifts matter, and it's one of the ways that you make this world a better place. Thank you for your passion and your generosity. For those of you making pledges or who want to contribute to UUCD, please visit www.uucd.org and click on Support UUCD for more information about how to donate online. Our offertory music today is I Am Enough from Daphne Willis.
All of the lies I believed got the better of me. Never thought there could be so much doubt. All the blame and the hate, the self-hurt and the heartbreak, a fist that kept holding me down. And I was my own worst enemy. And I found my way through it all. And finally I see I'm enough, just as I am. Feel right at home anywhere that I stand. Hold out my heart in the palm of my hand, and I live my life like nobody else can. I am enough for the laughter, the life that I'm after, enough for my wildest dreams. Yeah, 'cause every flaw from my toe to my jaw is exactly where it's supposed to be. And I know I got something got the better of me. Never thought there could be so much doubt.
Good morning. My name is Aaron, and I've been with the UUCD for a little over a year, and haven't seen anybody in person for service yet. So looking forward to at some point seeing you all in person for service. But we have been able to meet in live a couple times. So right now is the centering part of our service today. The loving kindness or meditation is a practice in Buddhism that varies according to specific traditions, but holds at its core the goal of generating compassion and connection between people. It most often begins with self-compassion as a necessary first step. For our centering today, we'll practice an abbreviated version of this. Put your body in as comfortable a position as you can, and if you would like, close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Imagine yourself experiencing complete physical and emotional wellness and inner peace. Imagine feeling perfect love for yourself, thanking yourself for all that you are, knowing that you are just right, just as you are. Focus on this feeling of peace and imagine that you are breathing out tension and breathing in feelings of love. In your mind, repeat these positive messages of love. May I be happy. May I be safe and free from harm. May I be healthy, peaceful, and strong. May I give and receive appreciation today. Sit with a feeling of self-compassion for just a moment. Now picture someone in your life that you love, the first person who comes to mind, and focus your energy on sending them loving kindness. May they be happy, may they be safe and free from harm. May they be healthy, peaceful, and strong. As you direct your energies in broader and broader circles, picture someone you don't know well, but have seen recently, perhaps a neighbor you haven't met or an essential worker at the grocery store. Focus your energy on sending them loving kindness. May they be happy. May they be safe and free from harm. May they be healthy, peaceful, and strong. Now picture someone in your life with whom you have had a conflict, maybe someone who has harmed you, an argumentative coworker, or a person with very different politics than yours. Focus your energy on sending them loving kindness. May they be happy. May they be safe and free from harm. May they be healthy, peaceful, and strong. Now expand your center of awareness to include people and all other sentient beings around the globe. Imagine your energies of loving kindness spreading to touch each of them with a soft light. May they be happy. May they be safe and free from harm. May they be healthy, peaceful, and strong. Take a few deep breaths, breathing in connection and compassion, breathing out anything that separates you from the love you desire, wish for yourself and others. And as you end this loving kindness meditation, remember the energy you feel in this moment. Return to that throughout the day or week as you need to. May it nurture you, those you encounter, and the world. So be it.
Thank you, Aaron. Wonderful loving kindness centering. Good morning. My name is Wendy Pickett. I'm one of the founding members of UUCD and a member of the Board of Trustees, the Leadership Development Committee, and the Worship Committee. Our reading this morning includes excerpts from Karen Armstrong's 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life. Step 3 is compassion for yourself. We have seen that compassion is essential to humanity. We have a biological need to be cared for and to care for others. Yet it is not easy to love ourselves. In our target-driven capitalist Western societies, we are more inclined to castigate ourselves for our shortcomings and become inordinately cast down by any failure to achieve our objectives and potential. It is a terrible irony that while many in the world are suffering from malnutrition and starvation, in the West, an alarming number of people are afflicted with eating disorders that spring from a complex amalgam of self-hatred, deep feelings of failure, inadequacy, helplessness, and yearning for control. But this self-dissatisfaction is not confined to the West. In countries that were colonized by Europeans during the late 19th century, for example, people often internalized the colonists' negative assessment of themselves. The golden rule, that is, treat others as you wish to be treated, requires self-knowledge. It asks that we use our own feelings as a guide to our behavior with others. If we treat ourselves harshly, this is the way we are likely to treat other people. So we need to acquire a healthier and more balanced knowledge of our strengths as well as our weaknesses.
Good morning. My name is Michael Boliro, and I'm here to introduce the reflection part of our service. So a few months back, I was lucky enough to participate in some professional training, which attempted to bring me up to date on the scientific literature related to the utility of self-compassion exercises to facilitate better mental health outcomes. 2 large-scale studies showed great efficacy and suggested strong adherence to the intervention among diverse populations. As this may have looked promising, I was still hesitant to rush into recommending self-compassion in my work without first trying it out myself and learning from the inside out how this stuff can be utilized. At the very least, I should be able to explain better how we may wish to practice. So I propose that a trio of us might consider undertaking a 30-day challenge, a 30-day self-compassion challenge, and practice for an entire month. Keep track of the impact so that we might report back to the congregation what we found. I assembled some resources describing various self-compassion exercises and shared these with the group. If you're interested in examining some of these resources for yourself, feel free to send me an email and request them. As each of us chose different methods to bring greater self-compassion to the fore, I ask that we take notes on what we learned about ourselves. What follows are some of our observations. We'll start by taking turns describing our initial thoughts in relation to this proposal and how each of us sought to begin the 30-day challenge. Kharma, would you like to talk about that?
I will. So when Michael first suggested that we participate in this experiment of experience with self-compassion exercises, I confess that I was roughly equal parts eager to do so and reticent to do so. And the reason for my eagerness is easy. I know how important compassion is to the world, how important a part it is of making the world a better, kinder, more equitable and just place. And I know that practicing self-compassion is an essential part of living a compassionate life more generally. But the reason for my reticence was that I already know what a struggle self-compassion is for me. One of the largest hindrances to self-compassion for me is what is typically called the voice of the inner critic. You know, that voice inside that points out your flaws and tells you that you should be doing more and doing it better. It might suggest that people are judging you, and for good reason, and then constantly remind you that you don't quite measure up. Well, the voice of my internal critic is so effective that I've often said, I don't just have one critic, I have a whole committee, and a committee of overachievers at that. So I appreciated Michael's suggestion that he and Molly and I collaborate together to choose some specific practices that we would focus on over the month. Which might, I'm sorry, my power's coming on and off, and that might be creating an issue. But I was really happy that he suggested we do this for the month. And that it would be a spiritual practice. And for me, that's an important foundation for spiritual growth. And what I mean by spiritual practice is that, very simply, that's anything you do regularly and with intention for the purpose of spiritual or personal growth. And over time, those sustained spiritual practices have the potential to change us for good, helping us to become people that we want to be, and maximizing our enjoyment of life if we do it right. Now, they're small things perhaps, but they can make a big impact, like water flowing over a rock creates a cave, or that small shift of a ship's rudder, barely noticeable at first, but which over time alters the course drastically. Changes that are facilitated by spiritual practice like self-compassion can be substantial when considered in the long view. So as we describe our practices, Michael's going to get us started.
As I had already had a meditation practice in place, I chose to, for myself, insert a guided meditation by Tara Brach. But most frequently, we began our practice, at least at first, to find peace and solace. In many quarters, these exercises are called relaxation practices. What is relaxing about conjuring up an uncomfortable emotion? At first, I did not understand how rain was going to help me. Before I get around to describing how it did help, though, let's go around and each take turns describing what we found when investing in our particular exercises. Who wants to go next? Oh, it looks like Molly can go next.
Yeah, looks like me. Well, this was an interesting and fun experiment. Self-compassion as a topic or a practice is relatively new to me, but not totally foreign. I tripped over it about 10 years ago when I first started practicing mindfulness meditation with the St. John's River Lotus Sangha right here at UUCD. We meet weekly Wednesdays at 7. Oh, that was a short advertisement. I developed a practice which I labeled myself functional self-compassion during a time when physical pain was interfering a lot with my life. That worked for me and still does. So I'll talk about that. But when Michael challenged us to practice for a month, he didn't scare me. Of course, after I said okay, I received a ream of suggested exercises and proposed practices. But as you've heard from others today, and as you will know for yourself, I practice self-compassion by picking the ones that either looked easy or familiar. I found 5 guided meditations on one page and then picked one a day for 5 days. I prefer guided meditations. They speak to me. So that was good that he gave us all those choices. But the other criteria was that they'd be short. So I picked ones that on the sheet said 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 13. No, I didn't pick any of them. Just short ones. So I soon discovered that these exercises were leading me in a new and interesting way. I learned that I could care for emotional and spiritual pain through attention to my body. My face is now a place to go for relief of emotional and spiritual pain. The face has millions of nerves, so I'm told. And when I notice a strong feeling of sadness, anger, frustration, I cradle my face, notice the discomfort, and speak to it. I give it some attention as the facial nerves are touched. Then, if it doesn't fade quickly, I invite it to come back later if it needs to. So here's a demonstration. Show and tell. So I actually cover my face with my hands, making it sort of, I would call it cradle. Move my head so my face moves down into my hands. It's a beautiful feeling. I'm telling you, I feel like, oh my gosh, somebody's taking care of me. It's really nice. But at the same time, what I practiced doing was either using a current negative feeling or difficult emotion, or to conjure one up, which is kind of easy to do when you're my age. Got lots of them back there. So I practiced that and immediately felt that, oh boy, I'm gonna hang on to this one. And I have found that it doesn't always fade quickly, the strong emotion. So my technique has been to speak to it gently. Sorry, you're still mad. Sorry, you're still frustrated. And I recognize that, and I want to take care of you. Those are the kind of words I say to myself. And I will come back to you. And if you need, you come back to me. Anyone who knows me that knows that I'm not artistically inclined. One of the guided meditations that Michael suggested was a breath exercise, focusing on the breath, but in a more proactive manner than I'm used to. The focusing on the breath is breathing in and breathing out. You can just do it simply as that. But this exercise suggested adding color. And I thought, well, that'll be interesting since I don't imagine in color. So what I found out was I can imagine in color if I decide to, which was very interesting. One of the guys, so I focused on breathing in a pink breath and breathing out a blue breath. And I just decided to do it, and it worked. Then the exercise suggested using the color to address some issues. So I picked colors and I played with them, and I had a good time. And it was kind of revealing of, what my potential might be, at least in terms of this art form. So what's happened in the process of doing, I actually picked 5 exercises and practiced them a couple of weeks, and then they kind of started to pop up in my just daily life, just popping up here and there. And so I've used them. And so one day I was wondering if the light the changes in the color would make any difference in my body and how I felt, because I know that was the connection to the body and the mind is the point of exercise. So I took a very relaxed position, took some deep breaths, and I scanned my body, and I found that my feet were, which has happens sometimes, my feet were kind of sore and tingly, and it was an uncomfortable feeling. So what I did was I decided to take the breath in, very, very light colors of breath, pink, blue, light green, kind of together. And then in an in-breath, move them down my body, out through my toes. And as they came out through my toes, they were darker colors. And so I did that a few times. They were like browns and blacks and dark greens. And then I went ahead and did another body scan, and I noticed that there was a change. So I'm using color now. So all I can say is color. Color is now one of my buddies. I have one last experience that I really I'm going to continue with. It is called Fierce Friend. And this is for those times when you just can't shake a thought of self-doubt or inadequacy. Just keeps coming back and coming back. So the way to do it is to take a few deep breaths and imagine yourself floating on a cloud, a nice white puffy cloud, just as relaxed as you can be, just as comfortable as you can be. And you brought along with you today a friend, and you're calling this your fierce friend, because this friend has a job to do. So as you're up there in that cloud with your friend, you bring up this thought that keeps bugging you about not being good enough or inadequate or always messing up. And your fierce friend is fierce. You don't have to be, because your friend is fierce. And what your friend does is, when that thought starts coming into the cloud, your fierce friend just gently pushes it away right into a big mountain. And then it's gone. Well, of course, it's not gone. And your friend is not gone. Your friend is still there. I have used this, once I learned this, when I've used it several times, and I love it because all of the good things happen. I relax, I feel better. For a time, that intrusive thought does not bother me. But if it does, I know that I've got my fierce friend. We can go back to the cloud and she'll take care of it for me. So I recommend it if you're a person who likes to float around in the sky comfortably and have a good time. So in conclusion, I know that some of the new tools that seem to be popping up, they seem to be popping up just sort of organically. And one of the things that I have I started doing is saying to myself, Molly, stop your complaining and do something. Now, that do something is, I have three new things now to do. So I consider that a victory, a wonderful gift, and I'm very, very grateful for it. So that was my experience. Thank you.
I'll go next while I have the internet.
Yes.
So here's what happened for me during our October experiment. I'm not the kind of person who likes to float on clouds. I'm not really good at meditation. And so I chose to engage in practices that I know work for me. Reflection, journaling, trying to process or make sense of my experiences and my observations cognitively. And I know that when I do this regularly, it helps me notice and process and understand what I might otherwise ignore. And one thing that happened for me during this time is that my dreams became more vivid. I was obviously working things out in my sleep in addition to my journal. And one night I was having this dream in which I made mistake after mistake after mistake. And I woke up during the witching hour, as I sometimes do, feeling really anxious and embarrassed about those mistakes, which weren't even real. I mean, some of them were really absurd, but I had that feeling that I know when I do make mistakes. And so then when I went back to sleep after waking up at 3 a.m., I had a dream about my cat, Annie. Now, because I'm a person who thinks and lives by metaphors, images are often a key to understanding for me, as it was this time. My cat, Annie, has this consistent habit, which she was performing in the dream, and it's this. Every time a door opens, she is right there and she runs through it. She might have been all the way at the other end of the house, but when the sound of a door creaks or there's any hint that a door might open, she is right there rushing through to the other side before we even have a chance to notice or prepare. Sometimes this annoys me because she then becomes stuck in so many closets or rooms that she then cries and makes all kind of racket to be let back out, usually at an inconvenient time some moments later. Now, I've learned that it's best just to let her go through whatever door she's going to go through, and then for me to take a deep breath. Because I know if I chase her, she will run and hide, and it becomes this big thing that we have to do. It's frustrating for us both. But if I let her go into the room and simply wait a minute or two, let her search and seek out whatever treat or treasure she thought was being kept from her when the door was closed, well, she simply chills out. She walks around and she goes back out the door when it's opened again. So here's my takeaway. When I woke from my dream, in which my inner critic was lamenting all that was wrong with me, juxtaposed against this image of Annie, I had a helpful insight. Sometimes the voice of my inner critic is just like my cat. At the opening of any door in my mind, it rushes in. And I have a choice to chase it and give it more attention, which is a frustrating, time-consuming, and unhelpful thing to do. Or maybe I could just let it in, notice it, take a few deep breaths, and let it go out again without hiding or lurking or caterwauling for longer than necessary. Now, at this point in my life, I don't expect my inner critic to disappear entirely. Like most people, I have internalized a lot of negative self-talk from society, from my personal history, but I still may be able to develop practices that allow me to reason with or talk back to those voices and to tell a truer tale about myself. In other words, if I intentionally practice, instead of amplifying and responding to the irrational inner critic, I might choose to listen instead to the more honest and kind voice that reminds me that perfection is impossible, that most people judge themselves too harshly, like I do, and that I, like all of them, in my imperfect striving, am still enough. So for me, one key to increased self-compassion may be just to keep making this choice day by day until it becomes a bit more natural. And I know that I need a nudging to do that. Practice helps. And after this self-compassion experiment, I have become very grateful to my little cat, Annie, for reminding me multiple times every day to be aware and intentional about doing that. How about you, Michael?
Well, I had expectations and they were dashed. I'll explain it this way. I fully expected that my inclusion of the Tara Brach self-compassion meditation with rain would result in a greater intellectual understanding of how rain might work in a therapeutic setting. Understanding something intellectually is always my go-to when I want to feel like I have a handle on something. But as the old Rolling Stones song strongly suggests, you can't always get what you want. In this case, I delved into uncomfortable emotions as the guided meditation requests. When I did this, I found it easiest to first recognize them more on a bodily level. In other words, I tended to focus on where in my body I felt the discomfort. When I was able to identify where in the body this discomfort was being held, I then investigated the stress to understand how I might best reverse engineer the physical sensation of stress. I worked on relaxing the areas that held the tension. In this manner, it became easier to practice letting go of the feelings, or at least release the hold they have over me. As I practiced this again and again, I found that the uncomfortable feelings ceased triggering me as they once had, thus freeing me to respond in a more healthy manner. I got what I needed from the exercise, but this understanding came through an increased awareness of how my body holds stress, not what I expected or was looking for. At this point, are we ready to, I'm ready to move to a conclusion. Yeah. We each chose a self-compassion practice that was fitting to us individually. We were not comparing notes on a specific exercise. We each learned something regardless of whatever our choice was. I suspect the important takeaway is that we inserted into our lives a regular ritual where we prioritize self-compassion. Doing this over the course of a month cannot help but to influence our mindful awareness of the role self-compassion plays in each of our lives. What is amazing to me is how relatively simple this can be, focusing our attention on a useful topic for a month. And we were each able to report increased awareness of sorts. Imagine what could happen if we made a regular practice of this. Note also that the three of us entered into this agreement required us to follow through. When we committed to the idea, we also set a date in November for this service, thus providing us each with some strong motivation for taking the exercise seriously. In effect, we were one another's accountability buddies. It is fair to ask if we would have committed to this exercise to the same degree if we were to attempt to do this alone. When we began, I may not have been a believer regarding the utility of focusing on self-compassion prior to actually doing this exercise. I believe our life can be improved by focusing our attention on any of a variety of topics, but I personally may not have believed that self-compassion was one of these. I've since changed my mind. The 30-day challenge forced me to admit that self-compassion is likely an essential component for those of us striving for healthier, happier ways of being on the planet. I imagine that tremendous resources can be made available to us if only we can forgive ourselves and dive deeper into our well of compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. And I was reminded that in order for us to fully care for others, we must first manage greater self-care. Perhaps this is a great place for us to begin this work. This concludes this portion of the service for this week. Blessed be.
Thanks, Michael. Our closing song for today is a chant called With One Breath by Heather Pearson.
With one breath, I know I'm alive. With one breath, I know I am whole. With one breath, I know I'm alive. With one breath, I know I am loved. With one breath, I know I can love. With one breath, I know I'm at peace. With one breath, I know I am well. With one breath, I know I'm at peace. With one breath, I know I am well. With one breath, I am part of you. With one breath, you're part of me. With one breath, I'm part of you. With one breath, you're part of me.
And now we extinguish the chalice. You'll repeat in unison. The words are in the chat box. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As you leave here today, know that you are indeed alive, you are whole, you are loved, you are well, you can be at peace. So breathe deeply today, in the days to come, knowing that we are part of one another and that we all, yes, even you and even me, are worthy of compassion. Go in peace.